as we are familiar with universal law of gravitation, Newton's law of gravitation, that is we have discussed. But this law, how this law is proposed by the scientist Newton, that we will study today. How he concluded that this gravitational force is directly proportional to the product of their masses between the two objects and inversely proportional to the square of the distance. For this, as we know that whenever any object is thrown vertically upward, it will fall or attract towards the earth. Moreover, Galileo told us that heavy and light objects, when they are fallen from the same vertical height, they reaches the ground at the same time. Fine. Newton, he proposed moreover that the masses and attractive force, that is gravitational force, this attractive force is applicable between any two masses. For this purpose, or to derive this law of gravitation, what he did is he studied about the motion of the moon around the earth. Fine. Motion of the moon around the earth. We know that the earth moon revolves around the earth. For this revolution, the time taken by the moon to complete one revolution around the earth is equal to 27.3 days. किती वेळ लागतो? तर मूनला अर्थ भोवती एक रिव्होल्यूशन कंप्लीट करण्यासाठी 27.3 डेज लागतात. The distance between the moon and the earth, how we should consider the distance between the center of earth to the center of moon. This distance between the centers of moon and earth, it is equal to 3.85 into 10 to the power 5 kilometer. Fine. As moon is revolving around the earth in a circular orbit, means there must be certain acceleration with which it is revolving around the earth, right? So this, if there is acceleration, means there must be a central force, there must be a force with which whenever any body is performing circular motion, we have studied that, or we know that for a particle to complete the circle, it must be acted upon by a force, and that force we call it as a centripetal force. Barabar? Centripetal force. A centripetal force must be there. Therefore, here suppose moon and earth, moon is revolving around the earth, and therefore the force which exists to revolve the moon around the earth must be a centripetal force. This centripetal force is equal to mr omega square, where omega is the angular velocity. With constant angular velocity, this moon is revolving around the earth. But according to Newton's second law काय सांगतो? Force is equal to mass into acceleration, right? We know that Newton's second law is force is equal to mass into acceleration. This conclusion is from rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force. आणि ज्यावरून आपण काय फाइंड आउट केलंय की न्यूमरिकल व्हॅल्यू ऑफ फोर्स इज इक्वल टू मास इंटू acceleration. But if this force is equal to mass into acceleration, if we put this value here, we found m into a is equal to m into r into omega square. This r is the orbital radius, omega is the angular velocity with which it is moving. Therefore, acceleration with which moon is revolving around the earth is equal to r into omega square. Mm get cancelled, right? So we have this acceleration. This acceleration can be written in terms of r into omega, substitute omega in terms of period as 2 pi by t. ओमेगा काय लिहिता येईल आपल्याला, ओमेगा इज इक्वल टू 2 pi by t. We have written here angular velocity omega is equal to 2 pi divided by t, and therefore substitute this value here as a is equal to r into 2 pi by t whole square. Fine. What we are going to derive here is Newton's law of gravitation. How we conclude to the Newton's law of gravitation, this derivation is from कशावरून फाइंड आउट केले, तर स्टडी ऑफ मोशन ऑफ द मून अराउंड द अर्थ. त्यावरून आपण काय फाइंड आउट केलेलं आहे इथे, न्यूटन हॅज प्रपोज्ड हिज लॉ ऑफ ग्रॅव्हिटेशन फ्रॉम द स्टडी ऑफ मोशन ऑफ द मून अराउंड द अर्थ. Because as moon is revolving around the earth in a circular orbit, there must be a force which keep it in a circular orbit, and this force is nothing but the centripetal force. This centripetal force is equal to mr omega square. Omega is the angular velocity, can be substituted as 2 pi by t. Now substitute the values as this is acceleration of moon is equal to r is the distance between moon and the earth. It is equal to 3.85 into 10 to the power 5 kilometer. So 10 to the power 5 into 10 to the power 3, so replace kilometer as meter, into 2 pi whole square, that is 4 into pi square, 3.14 whole square, and divided by what is t? T is the time period. Time period, that is time required by the moon to complete one revolution around the earth. Therefore it is equal to, we can replace it in terms of second as 27.3. these are days, convert it into hours, that is 24 multiplied by 60 minutes multiplied by 60, means up to this whole acceleration has now unit meter per second square. We have converted it into, this kilometer get converted into meter and the days get converted up to the second. So this acceleration has value meter per second square. What is the calculated value is 0.0027 meter per second. आता हे 0.0027 मीटर पर सेकंड कुठलं ॲक्सिलरेशन आहे, तर दिस इज द ॲक्सिलरेशन ऑफ द मून with which it is revolving around the earth. What does it mean? We know that whenever any object near to the surface of earth it fall on the earth or attracted towards the earth with an acceleration that we know, which is equal to acceleration due to gravity equal to 9.8 meter per second square. If we compare these two value, ह्या दोन व्हॅल्यूला जर कंपेअर केलं तर याचा अर्थ काय, this value, that is acceleration of moon towards the earth, it is too much less than that of this value of acceleration which is experienced by an object. म्हणजे एखादा ऑब्जेक्ट जो अर्थच्या सरफेस जवळ आहे आणि तोच फेकला आणि जेव्हा खाली येतो तो किती ॲक्सिलरेशन येतो, 9.8 मीटर पर सेकंड स्क्वेअर. आणि मून सुद्धा अर्थ भोवती कोणत्या ॲक्सिलरेशन फिरतो, तर ह्या 0.0027 मीन्स देर इज टू मच डिफरन्स और दिस ॲक्सिलरेशन इज टू मच लेस. This A is too much less than that of G. Then Newton think that why does this happen? It means that as the distance from the center of earth goes on decreasing, acceleration increases. That is, this acceleration is inversely proportional to the distance between the object and the center of the earth. Do you get this? पहा आपण काय कन्क्लूड केलेलं आहे, तर distance between the object and the center of earth, as every body is attracted towards earth with an acceleration, and if this acceleration, if the body is nearer to the earth, it is equal to 9.8. Moon is also attracted towards the earth but by an acceleration which is equal to this much value, This is too less. Why? Because moon is at a far distance from the center of earth. This distance is 3.85 into 10 to the power 5 kilometer. Means if we take, Newton has taken this ratio while studying acceleration of the object which is falling from a certain height on the surface of earth, that or acceleration felt by the object, जे acceleration object feel करतोय, this acceleration 9.8 divided by acceleration felt by the moon, this ratio if it is taken 9.8 divided by 0.0027 and this is nearly equal to 3600. किती आला हा रेशो? तर 3600. Now we know the distance of the moon from the distance of the moon and the center of earth, it is equal to 3.85 into 10 to the power 8 meter. 5 kilometer means kilometer 3, so 10 to the power 8 meter. And the distance of the object which is situated on the surface of earth, अर्थवर जर ऑब्जेक्ट ठेवला आपण तर याचा अर्थ किंवा व्हेरी नियर और क्लोज टू द अर्थ, इट मस्ट बी इक्वल टू द रेडियस ऑफ द अर्थ. Object is situated on the surface of earth, therefore it should be at a distance equal to the radius of earth. It is exactly 6378 kilometer. Fine. So if we take this calculation, or if both are taken in kilometer, this is to be converted into meter. Say this is kilometer, this is kilometer. If we, this ratio is taken, this ratio is equal to 60. If it is found the ratio of the distance of the moon from the center of earth and the distance of the object from the center of earth, this ratio is equal to 60. What does it mean? It means that the acceleration of the object divided by acceleration of the moon is equal to distance of the moon to earth and distance of the object from the surface of earth. It is equal to square of the distance, because this value is 60 and this ratio is having value 3600, means this acceleration is inversely proportional to the because see here, this is acceleration of the object divided by acceleration of moon, this is distance of moon divided by distance of object, so this ratio is equal to square of the distance and which is inversely proportional. Thereby we conclude from this is that acceleration is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. Acceleration of the object with which it is attracting towards the center of earth is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the center of the object and center of the earth and the object. As this distance increases, acceleration goes on decreasing, and from this, see, if this acceleration is inversely proportional according to Newton's second law, again we can write if F is equal to mass into acceleration. What does it mean? This force is nothing but the gravitational force with which these objects they are attracting towards the center of earth. Therefore this gravitational force must be inversely proportional to the r square, and m is the mass of the object which is situated. Therefore we can write F is directly proportional to m by r square. This is what m is the mass of the object and r is the distance between the object and the earth. Earth आणि object मधला अंतर r आहे, m त्या ऑब्जेक्टचं मास आहे, तर F is directly proportional to m and inversely proportional to r square. But as the earth exerts a force on this object of mass m, At the same time, according to Newton's third law, see here we will have to use three of the laws of Newton. That is Newton's third law. काय आहे Newton's third law? To every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Right? You are familiar with this law. That is, to every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Means if the earth exerts a force of gravitation on the object of mass m, in turn the object of mass m will also exert an equal and opposite force on the earth. Therefore, this force also directly proportional to mass of the earth divided by distance between the object and the earth. Right? F is directly proportional to m by r square, where m is the mass of object and force experienced by the earth by the object is equal to capital M by r square, where capital M is the mass of earth. And this concludes that F is equal to, or F is proportional to, say m, that is mass of the object, capital M mass of earth, and inversely proportional to square of the distance. It means that this is what the Newton's law of gravitation, that is gravitational force. Any two means here earth is one of the object, m is the mass of the object which is situated on the earth, or say at a distance r from the earth. हा ऑब्जेक्ट जसं मास m आहे आणि अर्थ पासून r एवढ्या अंतरावर आहे, तर हा फोर्स कशाला प्रोपोर्शनल आला? प्रॉडक्ट ऑफ द मासेस ऑफ द टू ऑब्जेक्ट्स and inversely proportional to the square of the distance. Up to this, or in your 10th standard also, आपण काय शिकलो? You have studied about the Newton's law of gravitation. But how this law of gravitation is proposed by Newton, this is what the derivation or the base behind this law is, that F is proportional to product of the mass of the two objects and inversely. Right now we are discussing that this object is an earth because every object attracted towards the center of earth. So from the motion of the moon towards the earth, Newton has found out the law of gravitation, and this is equal to, we can write F is equal to constant of proportionality is G, Gmm upon r square. R is the distance, we can replace it by capital R also if R is that is mass is situated on the surface of earth, or if it is at a certain height above the earth, then it is r plus h. So we can write here F is equal to Gmm upon r square. This is how Newton's law of gravitation is proposed. See here, for this law is called as universal law because it is applicable for any two objects. For this, suppose this is a coordinate system in which any two masses, any two objects of masses, say m1 and m2 are situated, there must exist the gravitational force between these two, that is they are attracted with each other by the gravitational force. Then say suppose from the origin of coordinate system, this mass m1 is situated at a distance or r1, its position vector is r1. Position vector of mass m2 is, say suppose, r2. Then we can write this is what the distance between the m1 and m2 is r. Then Newton's law of gravitation, F is equal to, from the formula G m1 m2 upon mass of distance between the two objects is m1 m2 and r is the distance between them. This is how Newton's law of gravitation is derived from the motion of the acceleration of moon towards the earth.